All right, we are at the roastery today, and we're gonna be roasting our newest coffee. It's an anaerobic natural Mandela from Cafe Granja La Esperanza. It's from their farm, La Esperanza, and I mentioned it in my last roasting video that as I was opening up the bag to do our first roast, it's pretty unique. Those sweet notes, the candy notes that we got just from opening up the green bag is pretty amazing. And that's really what draws me into the coffee. I think there are times when I would prefer to just grind up and brew the green coffee because it's so sweet. It's literally like candy, and this one's just like that. A lot of that sweetness comes from an anaerobic process, natural process, longer fermentations, or even just leaving on the cherries or throwing in cherries during fermentation or something along those lines to really build up the sugars, the sweetness when it's fermenting. So this one is no doubt very sweet, and a lot of that maintains after it's been roasted. So I'm going to take you through the roasting process that I use here. I followed a very similar roasting process to one of my other coffees that I roast, and I'll talk you through it, but hope you enjoy the video. Let's get to it. So we're going to throw in 2 pounds. The roasting profile of this one is actually very similar to our Anthem, our Savage Anthem geisha that we have. We follow basically the same process, and they finish around the same amount of time. So high heat early on, dragging yellowing phase a little bit out. So as soon as we get to roughly 300 degrees or so, we're gonna have it sit in yellowing for about 2 minutes, roughly. And we want this roast to end around 9 minutes or so. What's important with this one is the high heat early on. So if I don't, when I was doing a few sample roasts of this one in the large scale roaster, my 3-pound roaster, large scale. When I was doing a few of those roasts, I noticed that if I went any slower, if I dragged it out a little bit longer, then it took too long. A little bit of baked notes were coming through, lost some of the sweetness as well. So it was important that we hit it with high heat early on and then kept that high heat. So we're gonna start at 4.5 heat level. This is 2 pounds. So we start at 4.5, and 1 minute in we go to 6. The highest we'll go is around 7 heat level. And so we're keeping it in that high heat pretty early on. So I would say more closely aligned to a traditional kind of drum roasting style, which is hit it with high heat, slowly drag it, slowly decrease the heat level. That's kind of what we're gonna do here. And I'm really liking this roast. It's pretty light. I think it's 11-12% weight loss. I'll check, but it's a fun roast. Some roasts, I think I've made videos about roasts just being very easy to roast, and yeah, they're great once you get them easy because you want things to flow quickly. But when you have to watch over it a lot, that's the really fun part. Building out the profiles is really cool. So let's get this in. It smells like candy. Oh my god. It's just thinking back 10 years ago, 12 years ago roughly, when I first discovered what a truly fascinating coffee can taste like. It was an Ethiopian that tasted like a berry, right? Like a blueberry. And going from that first experience to where we are now with having coffees taste like fruit cereal before they're even roasted is it's just fascinating. And I'm glad I'm part of this experience now. So let's get this in. I just can't believe that it smells like candy. All right. So we start at 4.5 for 1 minute. At 1 minute, go to 6. High heat. Let's go. 1 minute in, going up to 6. We're at 185 temperature, bean temperature internal. And that looks to be pretty much in line with our last roasting. It's 2 degrees off, so we'll toggle this a little bit to catch up. We're gonna leave it in this heat level for roughly 3 more minutes, so to get to 4.5. And at 4.5 is where we will go to our highest temp, which will be around heat level 7. And what we're really doing is watching, right now, is we're watching the amount of agitation that's happening. So the loft, we want to keep it roughly 2 inches or so of a loft size. Actually, in the beginning, I want to keep it a little bit lower. Towards the end is when I want to increase the loft. That's when we'll get it, I don't know, 2 inches or so between the bed and then the top of it. And while we wait for this coffee to get to our next toggle, I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's from one of my favorite producers in Colombia, Café Granja La Esperanza, also known as CGLE, because Café Granja La Esperanza is a very long name to always say. So CGLE is what I like to put on my bags. It's the farm that this was grown in is called La Esperanza. They have 4 farms now. They used to have 5. I'm not sure what happened to their 5th one, but they have 4 now. And I've had a number of coffees offered from La Esperanza. It's higher elevation, a little bit of a relatively small lot size. I think they maybe have 15 or so lots there. And I like this one a lot. Because of the, it's like a sweet and sour note to it. So it's very much like a black plum. That's on one of my descriptions, where at first it may be a little sour and then you get that sweetness that comes through as you're drinking it for a little bit longer, similar to a dark plum. And we're at 4:30, so I'm gonna go up to our highest temp. Loft is looking good. I'm actually gonna leave the loft as it is right now. What we really want to happen after we turn the heat knob is for it to jump up to the highest level of heat that I want, which is basically around 495 or so of the roast air temp, which it will get there in about a minute or so. And after that, keep it there, maintain that heat level for the remainder of the roast, slowly turning it down, decreasing it as we are getting closer to first crack happening and whatnot. We do that because that's the temp that we want to maintain. Rate of rise is going to start to slow down a bit. And 6 minutes, we're at 365. So we are right on track with our last roast. We are exactly the same degree, which is great. We want to see that. So continuing to tell you a little bit about the coffee, it's an anaerobic process, so anaerobic natural. So they leave it in the cherries, let the cherries kind of shrivel up and the beans soak up all that sweetness. I love naturally processed coffees. Then they grab those cherries and throw them into tanks. They seal the tanks, extract all the oxygen, and leave it in that phase while it's fermenting for a period of time. That period of time for this coffee was 168 hours. An extreme amount of time. I have never had a coffee that has gone through fermentation for that long. So it's a really unique coffee. Sometimes you can get too much of winey notes from it, but I think this one is just right. So we're at a little after 7 minutes, 382 bean temperature here, and I'm gonna leave the loft pretty high. I don't want it to, I want the rate of rise to slowly decrease, and if it continues to flow through pretty quickly, then we're not gonna get enough development of the beans. So this is good. Everything's looking good now. We basically want to keep the roast air temp around where it is now. It's at 495. It'll creep up to about 500 towards the end, but I'm going to turn down the heat level just a little bit because I want to keep it around this level, under 500. It's actually going to be ending pretty soon, so we're going to get ready for that. And should be ending any second, or first crack should be beginning. And we're going to be pulling this at 20 seconds into first crack. We want to turn down the temperature to 6 here. We're going to pull it. All right, looks like a great roast. Just something to note about this coffee. We went about 20 seconds into first crack, which is not very long. Our shortest one is like a couple seconds into first crack, but this is still one of our shorter ones. The longest is probably 50 seconds or so. Just some Ethiopians that go into that level. But we never end first crack. I find that first crack is really where a lot of the great development is happening, and that's where I want a lot of that development to begin and end within it. Because it's a natural, it's gonna, no pun intended, naturally be darker. So you get the false impression that this is a darker roasted coffee, but it's actually pretty light. This is a really cool coffee. I think it's one of my favorites at the moment. I'm really starting to enjoy these longer fermented processed coffees. I think they can show some really unique notes that a lot of people have never experienced before, and I think it's cool that farmers are trying this more. So just a quick recap on the roast of this coffee. We followed a very, very similar process to our geisha from Savage Coffees in Panama, and it's a naturally processed geisha. So once again, another natural coffee. Sucker for naturals, they're so sweet. And so we followed a similar process there. High heat early on, even higher quickly to get to the highest heat temperature that we want during the roast. So there's 3 stages during this roast in terms of heat levels. First stage is our coolest, which is just soaking, right? So we're just getting that the outer layer of the coffee beans hot. Want to figure out where the loft is, and then a minute in, we increase it pretty drastically, getting it up to roughly 430 or so within the first couple of minutes. And right at 4.5 minutes, that's where we get to the highest level temperature, and we keep it in that temperature for the remainder of the roast. Try to keep it around 500 degrees and below, but really we want 490 to 500 for the roast air temp. We pulled this 20 seconds into first crack, so very quickly. It's about 12% weight loss here, so very light, and it looks good. Looks very consistent. Really cool about this coffee is afterwards you normally have to take out quite a few Quakers. Every coffee has a Quaker in it, at least one. This has very little, very, very little, and I love that. It makes my job easier because I just did a roast from Costa Rica, and I have never had that many Quakers in a coffee before. And I will probably never buy from that mill again, although it's a really fantastic coffee. I love the smell of it, love how it roasts and whatnot. And it actually tested my roasting skills, but man, it's just full of Quakers. I should have checked how many grams it was, but so many. It almost filled my full scale of Quakers in it. No rocks, but lots of Quakers. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing. Comment down below if you have any questions, or if you just enjoy the video. Just let me know that you enjoy it. Like it as well, and let me know if you have any questions. Till then, on to the next roast. Peace.